Earlier this year, I put the podcast on an indefinite hiatus. For some time, I expected the show to be done in its entirety. I had reached a point that I thought there wasn't much coming back from, and that cutting the cord would just be the best thing all around for everyone. Well, as you can see by this new episode in your feed, I was wrong. This episode is going to be a little bit different from what you're used to. It's not the story of a grand hacker coming out of a woodwork to take on the world. It's not a story of how one USB drive took down an entire infrastructure. Today's episode is a glimpse of what's to come for you, the listener. I'm John Cordes, and welcome back to What the Shell. I'm going to rip the band-aid off right at the start for everyone that's listening. The show probably isn't going to be as frequent as it used to be. Where I was doing 2, maybe 3 episodes a month there for a while, you can expect closer to 1 or 2 a month at most from here on out. I think for some of you, that's all the information you need or that you've come here to listen for, so you all can bow out of the episode if you'd like, and you'll see another episode in August. But if you'd have it, I'd like to tell you all a little bit about how I got to this point with the show. It's not going to be a long story, it's a short episode I think, but I do believe it's worth the listen. I want to start the story back in 2021. At that point, we had been in a pandemic mode for about a year and a half or so. I was working at home 5 days a week, and I wanted to try something new. I tend to separate my professional career and the show, but for this one episode, I'm going to give a little bit of a peek behind the curtain for me. Career-wise, at that point, I was in a bit of a unique situation. My manager and I both wanted me to get in front of more than just the technical people that I was comfortable working with and get our team some broader exposure. Unfortunately for me, at the time, I wasn't really the best at public speaking. I could speak technically, sure. In fact, I once accidentally took up 25 more minutes than I should have in a team meeting just explaining the ins and outs of an SMB vulnerability a few years ago. But that's not really the point. Suffice to say that while I could talk technically, and to technical people, from there I had established a bit of a wall of social anxiety. So I asked myself, how can I break out of a shell, so to speak? Well, one thing I'd already tried my hand at this point was doing capture the flag walkthroughs online. In fact, my YouTube channel for the show actually still has a few of these if you go all the way back. And while I liked doing them, the same problem that I'm going to talk about shortly kept arising, and I found that it wasn't really for me. So I took a step back and I asked myself, what do I want to get out of this? And I had a couple answers to that. I wanted to get better at technical storytelling, and I wanted to have a creative outlet. I wanted to be able to tell a technical story to even the more non-technically inclined people, but I also wanted to learn something new while I did it. That learning something new could have been the ins and outs of audio editing, or it could have been the stories that I'm actually telling you, where I go in and do the research myself. So I did what any guy in his 30s would do, and I decided to start a podcast. It was the sweet spot of not needing to have an on-screen persona, not needing to edit audio and video, and still being able to do something creative with my passion for the field. Writing a script for each episode has taught me how to structure the story. Reading it out loud and doing my recordings has had a marked decrease in my use of filler words. And apart from a separate failed attempt in 2015 to start a movie podcast, this is the first time actually learning how to do this kind of audio editing and make sure it's something that you actually enjoy listening. But it did reach a point where it kind of went wrong for me, and that's when I got wrapped up enough in the show that I started to get less and less enjoyment from making the episodes, and that started to bleed into less and less enjoyment for my hobbies that involved the field. Each 2-week cycle between episodes never really stopped. It would be write, record, edit, release, promote, and oftentimes they overlapped, where I'd need to be writing and promoting at the same time. It took up a lot of my time after work, before work. It was really just taking up more and more of my life. So I saw the signs of burnout coming and decided that I'd step back completely, which is where I left you all earlier this year. But as I stayed away from the show, I had a couple things that started to happen. Like, I'd start to get ideas again. Ideas for fun episodes, or ideas for things that would just be entertaining to research. I was getting more and more of my flame lit. I was having more and more time to go and do the things that I liked to do beyond the show. I'd spend time in my home lab. I'd spend time doing capture the flag activities. I'd spend time playing Pathfinder with my friends. I'd spend time even going so far as to start a collection hobby. And once I started to feel more rounded, more full, and more like myself than I had been in a while, I decided that maybe I don't want the show to end. What I'm saying here is I feel like I've relit the flame, but this time I want to take better care of it. I want to maintain my time for technical projects and do the show. I want to interview people and make sure that when I do, I'm there 100%. And most importantly, I want to maintain this with a healthy balance in my personal life so that I can spend time with my close friends and my own family. Now to the point where I think a lot of you still listening might be wanting to know about, which is what's next. Well, for the show, I'm committing to doing one episode each month. I'll communicate more about where and when it's posted as they finish, but I think that's a good starting place. I'm going to try to make them slightly longer episodes, if it's going to be a 1 per month release. So, looking maybe at trying to hit that 40-minute mark compared to the 20 to 30-minute ones that I've done in the past. And lastly, I'm choosing to be less active on Twitter specifically. I'm going to limit myself to Instagram and maybe the Threads app, but I was never huge about Twitter, it always came second anyways, and honestly, I don't want to extend myself so much on the social sides of things that I start to get into that point where I feel like I don't want to participate anymore. I don't have intentions of ever making this show something that I quit my job for. I love my job, and I love the people I work with. I have a genuine passion and respect for a field that if I wasn't participating in it, it wouldn't feel right. So I'm going to keep writing, keep creating, keep doing my best while maintaining that healthy balance. The episodes might just be a little more infrequent because of it. If you have anything you'd like to discuss about the episodes, if you have ideas, if you want to even participate, or just want to say hi, I encourage you, pop into the show's Discord. That's where I will be most active. That's where I've always been the most active. I'll also answer messages on Instagram, but that'll be about it, I think. To close out, I just want to say thank you. When I said I was done, I thought the show would just fall into the abyss of podcasts, that I could say goodbye and that would be it. But legitimately, more than 20 fans over the last 2 months have all asked me if I would consider coming back or doing it less frequently if it meant more of a show and a healthier me. So to all of you who've reached out, thank you. I can't put it into words what it meant to me, but you did play a part in me wanting to come back. A small piece of this is because I know there are people who are passionate about the show. So thank you again. My point here wasn't to tell you a sappy story or anything with all of this. It was to tell you what happened, because I think, given the care you've all shown me, you deserve it. If I could leave one thing for you all to take from this, it would just be to take care of yourself. Things like burnout, anxiety, and mental health are important, and they're often not talked about enough. If you're out there thinking you need to push yourself beyond your limits, I encourage you to talk to someone, because what I've found for all of this is that stepping away is okay. It just feels that much better when you come back. I'm John Cordes, and I'll see you in August with more What the Shell. If you want to join the show's Discord, the link is down below, and the link for the show's website is down there as well. For now, there's not going to be a store. I'm not going to be promoting anything that's going to be really money-based. Just going to be you and me. I'll see you next episode.